Hey guys, what's up? It's No Velocity. Last video we went over all the movement tactics you could do on controller. This video is a guide to controller specific Wattson gameplay. We'll also go over some basic controller settings and some suggestions that I have as well. So you might be wondering, why would I listen to this guy? What are his credentials to teach me how to play Wattson? Well, I held the top 1% for BR kills, all regions, all platforms from Season 15 to Season 20 on Wattson. I've spent the last 2 years coaching players from level 1 under 100 career kills all the way up to Apex Predators with over 100,000 kills in their career. I study Apex thoroughly every day to help below average and above average players get the most out of their gameplay. I've played since Season 12 and constantly spend my time on a sole focus of improving the gameplay of my teammates, my students. I've also been a top 1% on Ash at one point, Loba. Have thousands of kills spread amongst people, and I'm slowly getting closer and closer to being a top 1,000 conduit in the world. I'm only a few hundred placements off of being in the top 1,000 of all conduits in the world for BR kills. And I spend every day going out and teaching people how to improve at Apex. Because I am a coach, that is what I do all the time, every day. So if you stick around in this video, I can assure you that I'll teach you how to effectively play Wattson on controller in a way that can put you above any average Wattson main that you meet in your matches. So we'll start with the basics of Wattson. If this is your first time trying Wattson, your first time playing Wattson. So let's check out her abilities real fast. So her passive is Spark of Genius. She can hold 2 ultimate accelerants in one slot, and her ult gets instantly charged from any percentage whenever you pop an ultimate accelerant. This is insanely useful. I would always suggest to carry ultimate accelerants. Wattson also slowly restores shield. So say you just used your last cell and you still have 1 bar of shield that needs filled, that will happen automatically over time. So you can be a little more sparing with your shields. Her attack is perimeter security. This is her fences. You can place individual nodes and connect them, and it makes a fence, and it'll stun the enemies. The way that it stuns the enemies is it affects not only their actual movement of their character, but it also affects their aiming sensitivity as well. So it'll make it a lot harder for them to shoot you. A quick tip would be to stun them and then try to slide to the other side, because they cannot turn as fast with their sensitivity while they are stunned by the perimeter security. So her ultimate is a pylon. The pylon will destroy grenades thrown near it. This includes your teammates. It also destroys abilities like Horizon Ult or Caustic Trap, or basically any abilities that are thrown out will get destroyed by the pylon. This includes enemies and your teammates. So you have to be very careful with your placement with the pylon, but it can come in handy. Say you get like Gibby ulted and you're out in the open, you can place the pylon down if you have it, and it'll eat the entire ult pretty much. It'll just make it to where none of the artillery from Gibby or Bangalore actually lands in your area that the pylon covers. It also has another effect where it makes your attack recharge faster. And there's a total of 12 nodes that you can place at once, and this will make you get them faster because you can only do 4 at a time, and then there's a recharge rate for the tactical before you get your next fence. If you're within the range of your pylon, that entirely prevents the charge from taking a long time and gets you the ability to utilize your fences faster. She also has controller specific abilities, I guess is what they could be called. And so she has access to ring consoles as well. That reveals the next circle's location, which can be super useful if you're playing for wins, or if you're in ranked and you need some extra points for getting higher placements. But also, whenever you scan a ring console, it will give you around 200 Evo points. So if you are about to go from blue to purple and you only need like 25 and you scan a ring console, you're going to be purple after you finish scanning that. So that's insanely useful. There's also, you have 25 extra shield capacity when you're inside of the safe zone. So whenever a circle pops up on your map, if you get in that, if you have a blue shield, instead of having 3 bars of shield like normal, you'll have 4. You'll get an extra 25 shields. That's insanely useful. So it also ties in with the ring consoles. You can always stay in zone, so you always have extra shield. You'll have red shield with purple. There is no extra on red. So now let's talk about her upgrades.
I leveled up. Now to select an upgrade. I've achieved
So,
maximum power.
Starting with her upgrades,
Maximum level.
you have Fresh Start. This upgrade lets you pick up your teammate with a little extra base health, so they have more of a fighting chance immediately after getting picked up from the down state. This only affects health, it does not affect shield. So whenever you pick up your teammate, instead of having relatively 25 HP, they'll have 50 HP. So this helps because a lot of people will melee the person that just got rezzed, so they don't waste their bullets if it's a time frame in the game where resources might be limited. But it also just gives your teammate the ability to get out of there just a little bit more.
No more resistance. Time for
Next
an
up
upgrade.
is the Falling Stars upgrade. This affects Wattson's ult, and when you place it down, any of the ordnance that it destroys, instead of it getting just destroyed, it'll turn it into an arc star and drop it on the ground. You can use that in your fights. So that's useful in some instances. I normally go for the revive allies at 50 HP. I'd much rather have my teammates have more of a fighting chance after a res than have unlimited arc stars, basically. And it's just more situation based to have falling stars as your thing. So I personally select Fresh Start, and that's what I suggest to select, but that's up to personal preference.
Excellent. I have an upgrade.
Next we have the Power Pylon upgrade.
Perhaps I should select an upgrade.
This upgrade doubles your ult's HP and allows your ult to regain charge. What this means is your ult will take longer to destroy, because one of the easiest ways to get rid of an ult is to just shoot it. If you have a building locked down but there's windows, somebody will go out of their way to shoot your pylon so they can throw in nades and flush you out. This doubles that HP and also allows your ult to regain charge, which is very useful. And then we have Emergency Power. This upgrade doubles your ult's max charge and your shield recharge rate. So this will make you recharge shields for you and your teammates faster, which is very useful in
An upgrade
certain
would be
scenarios.
energizing.
It also doubles the max charge. So you'll have more charge and faster shield recharge, but also the ult will be less HP than if you choose the Power Pylon. So they both have their benefits. I personally choose Power Pylon because I'd rather my ult stay up longer and regain charge than it just charge me faster and charge my shields faster. So
The perfect
that's
upgrade.
her upgrades. That's what I do. specifically with her upgrades. So now I can show you some basic Wattson specific text that you may or may not already know. So we'll start off with the door trick. Okay, so the main time to use the door trick is if you are pushing back from a fight, right? Or if you're about to get pushed, you can just preset the node for the door play. So how the door play works is you place a node outside of the door. You preferably want to try to hide this. So with this node specifically, I would put it like over here because nobody's going to check over there unless they know that you're a Wattson and they specifically know that you're going for a door play. But you want to try to not make it obvious, right? So how a door play works is you're holding a door. You could be, taking a battery or something. And while you're holding the door, you block this off. And normally what an opponent will do is come over and they'll crouch down and also hold the door. They might give it a kick. But if you're blocking it, that doesn't do anything. And once they hit this, you can see them through the glass. You can grab the node through the door just by pressing your tactical button again and deploy that node. Inside of the range, for some reason it's bugged, but inside of a match, it will immediately destroy the door. So you can be waiting there with a gun out, ready to shoot them. It stuns them, breaks the door, and you can shoot them. The most popular Wattson tech that people know, and it's used quite often actually, but still not often enough that it doesn't catch enemies off guard. So that's definitely something to keep in mind of what you can do if you're getting chased or you're getting pushed. You can just get in the habit of anytime you're going to hold a building, you can just have a node outside and then you can connect it and shock them. I will talk about blocking off buildings and blocking off doors specifically. So with this door, what I would like to do is go as far as you can. So we'd go in these corners, and that would be how I would block that door. For example, if somebody goes to open this door, say it doesn't exist anymore or whatever, or it's still there, if they're looking this way, all they see is fence. If they go to break this fence, they have to stand in this open doorway, very vulnerable, and slowly peek out. And even when slowly peeking out, they might accidentally touch the fence like this. So then they can shoot it, but that takes their time. Doors explode when they make contact with the fence. So keep that in mind. They'll open the door, it'll blow up the door. This is no longer a safety spot. They can shoot you here. But you can step back here and shoot at them and utilize cover instead of your building. And they can't push through even though they broke the door without getting stunned. Or breaking the nodes themselves, which will take at least some amount of time away, which gives you time to either go grab another spot inside of the building or to fight them. So next we'll talk about quickly recovering your nodes. So let's just do an example here of we're putting nodes down. So you can select a node by pressing your tack while you're looking at it, and it'll automatically connect it. As you can see, this line is connected to that one. And then if you can see it says deploy is right trigger for me. If you press left trigger, it'll call that back. And every time one is in your line of sight, you can call them back. so you don't have to physically go up
Putting down a fence.
and pick up your node like this. You can just, you can learn how to do it fast, so that way you can just clean up all your nodes as fast as possible. Lots of Wattson mains don't end up doing this, and I think it's very underrated that you can do that. So I figured I would let you guys know about that. Alright, so now we're going to go over blocking an open zip line. Let's say you're on top of a building or something. There's a zip line that goes up to you. It's a vertical zip line. And you're getting pushed. So they're going to come over here. And they're going to go up and try to fight you. So I would block this off in a very simple way. I would go max distance like this, so that way they have a lot less room to get over it. Now with this specific thing, they can go here, so I would double up. You can also double up and do this.
Playing with fences.
That would allow, they either have to hit this one, or if they jump over that one, you want to try to place it, but it slows them down. And so, open things like this, you want to more just put fences around as much as you possibly can. Because it's not possible necessarily to immediately just block this. So you want to just stack them up because it is jumpable. I touched the fence there. So you want to try to avoid this scenario specifically, but if you are in this scenario, you can just try to put it as wide as you can and maybe even double layer it, maybe even triple layer it. Just try to cover as much of that area as you possibly can so that you can assure a stun. Then you can just be here ready for them. Okay, now we'll focus on pre-planned stuns, right? So say you're getting chased. You are fighting in this building, you're fighting them, you get out of there, you're going over here. A great example of a pre-planned stun is the door trick, so you can just do that. But there's also just inside of your building, having nodes just placed in spots that you can use them is super useful. So if I have a node there, somebody pushes me through this door, then I can just place a node there as they're coming in, and this node will hit them. It'll shock them, they'll be stunned, they'll be facing like this, or maybe facing like this, and you can just instantly shoot them. You kind of want to think about pressure points inside of your building that people can push. So you just have a preset node. You just set them around anywhere. You just have a node here, have a node here. You can pull it out and try to get the jump on them instead of already having your fence placed. And you can also pull your nodes from behind cover. That's a massive tip. Like say I have a node here and I am out here, I'm trying to fence somebody, they're pushing me, I can step behind cover and place it instead of have to stand here, line it up and place it. So you want to make sure you're utilizing cover.
Fence deployed.
While you're placing the nodes. So now I'll show you a good example of how to block a room. We'll use this room as an example. So let's just So how I would block off this specific room is there's a couple entry points. So like say I know I'm about to get pushed. I know all the openings on this room. I'm gonna put down my ult,
Eye of the storm.
block far
Fence placed.
on windows and doors, so that way they can't just break them easy. I'm going to connect nodes over points, like these stairs. So if you do it like this, they'll have to crouch walk under this, and while they're doing that, you can just shoot them, right? And then you can pull any nodes on any entries
Laying fences.
just to make sure that you're not getting pushed. So now this room is pretty secure. If you come from this way, you get shocked. If you come from this way, it'll explode the door. You can look, they can shoot your ult and stuff, but that gives you, that comes back to the door thing. They'll have to break the nodes. They come from down low, they'll have to either go over here and shoot at you, or crouch under to get in here to you. And in that time frame, you can either shoot them, or you can just go over here, and they won't be able to do anything. I block the windows, so if they take the zip and try to jump in, they get shocked. And so this is how I would, for example, if it's like end zone, you're going for the win, there's still a lot of teams in, the circle's small, you're holding like the only building in zone, this is how I would make sure that our building is protected. You combine that with other controller abilities as well, if your teammates are controller players, like Rampart, Caustic, Catalyst. Like Catalyst can block the door, Rampart can block the window with their wall so they can't come in. Block this with a wall so that you're more safe. Throw caustic traps down the bottom of the stairs or over here in the corner. And keep in mind that the caustic trap will block the fence. So if you do have a caustic on your team and you're running double controller legend, you can mess each other up. So you gotta coordinate who is playing what door, who's covering what door, stuff like that. That extra pylon HP is very useful. So next, let's go over aggressive fencing, because that's defensive gaming, what we just did. This is my spot, you can't come in. Aggressive fencing is more kind of like the door trick is also aggressive, because if you're running away, you can, like I'm fighting a guy over here, I know he's pushing because he cracked me or something. Door play, door explodes, shoot them. That can be used aggressively, so keep that in mind. So can the pre-planned nodes, those can be used aggressively. It's like, place it, shoot them. But we want to go over specifically aggressive fencing, instead of using them defensively. So same thing with the door. If you are here, you're both holding a door, right? They are inside the building holding the door, you are outside the building holding the door. Try to open it. While they're blocking it, you'll spam open that, and if you can get any sort of crack in the door, try to place a node through there. They'll reshut the door, but then you can fence play them.
Putting down the fence.
There's also, let's say you're fighting somebody right here, and then you know they're somewhat low, you want to push. Don't just push out like you normally would. Don't use movement to push out. I mean, you can. I'm just saying you have a tactical that would be useful in that scenario. You can just run up and fence them and then shoot them. The best way that I find to do this is to do basically this, like you do a little V. You try to go in front of them and behind them. So if they're here, they're basically trapped. They either have to go this way or this way, they get shocked. You can also have, like, during the pre-placement of nodes, you can have them like this, and then you can step away and shock them. Those are aggressive ways. And now if you're inside of an uncomfortable scenario and you're... this one's not suggested to do all the time, but it can be useful sometimes. If you're inside of just an aggressive scenario, someone's in your face, you can just try to do a little triangle. And if you do a little triangle inside of this fighting area, you can back up. It'll probably shock them or trap them. And your goal with doing that, just a little... You just want to start placing fences around you, spin in a circle real fast. It's not suggested because you could just be shooting back at them. And you can't shoot while you're fencing. But there's some scenarios where it's useful, so I want you to know that that is an option. Now we'll talk about some specific things about being in the open. You can use your ult to help you. Say you have ult, you're getting caught mid-rotation. You're rotating out. You can place ult down.
No more storms.
And not only will you regain shield during the fight, but you can do movement off of this and use it as cover. So sometimes if I'm caught out in the open, I'll place it down. I can do movement, like you can super glide off of the top of it. You can fight around it, use it as cover. You can fatigue jump off of it. Okay, well I keep messing it up because gotten, but you can fatigue jump off of it. But you can just utilize this as cover or to help assist you in movement during your fight. And that can definitely be useful if you're caught out in the open, so feel free to do that. Her recharge rate is pretty fast, and also the ability to instant charge it with ultimate accelerants. Assuming you're holding those, you have the space in your backpack for it, you know. If you're caught out in the open, it is definitely worth it to just throw your ult down and use that as some basically just impromptu cover, or play it like a box, right? Like the box 1v1s that are over there. People will play a piece of cover like this and fight and jump off of it and all that. You can do the same thing with your pylon. And people definitely don't expect it very often for you to just throw your pylon on their face and then hit a fatigue jump off of it. So that's definitely insanely useful. Now, if you're holding an open area, like say this is just your position in ring, you're getting shot at, there's like 3 teams left, and you're one of those teams, obviously. And you have an area in zone that's like this, or the zone is just this area, I would suggest you place your nodes far away in a circle. It's better to do this if you have ult, because then you don't have to wait for the placement. You can just have this little area. And the purpose of this is it slows them down. If you're pushing up to this and these aren't your team's fences, there's really no way around them, which is a big thing you want to try to create. It's obviously dependent on the area that you're doing, but just in general, that's why we make a circle, so that way they can't push in. If you have your ult down, they can't grenade it,
I am so strong.
because it'll just eat the grenade. And so they have to stop and wait and break it and then push in from only that side of the fences that they did break, and it just gives them a lot less options. So it definitely is a viable strategy. So don't be afraid to hold an open position like that, because sometimes that's just what is useful. And that's pretty much all of the Wattson specific tips I have for you. There are some more advanced things that you can do with Wattson that honestly you'll learn them with experience. And just be creative with your fences. There's 1,000 different ways to block something off.
Putting down the fence.
And so just make sure that you're creative and just don't be afraid to use your fences. It's better to use your ability and it not gain any value than to die because you didn't use your ability, basically. Especially with Wattson's nodes, being able to pick them up immediately to reset to another place. Like, if I'm covering this building
I'm fencing.
or whatever, and I'm ready to move on to the next building, like our team is rotating, I can just pick them up real fast, move over, and reset them over here. And obviously it just comes with practice to be able to place them fast. The more you play Wattson, the more used to node placements you'll be. You'll understand the distance that they can go, stuff like that. But yep, that's my controller guide to Wattson specifically. The big reason why I'm specifying controller for this video is because controller placement of nodes and keyboard and mouse placement of nodes are quite different, honestly, because you have more of a range, more of a flexibility, more of an ability to rapid place nodes in more precision on keyboard and mouse. So but all of these texts still apply on both ends, so keep that in mind. Now we're also going to get into some settings real fast, and I just want to show my settings and give you some setting suggestions. So these are my gameplay settings. I have my enemy highlight turned off because that makes it really hard for me to see personally. I have my weapon auto cycle on empty off because I want to be in charge of what gun is in my hands. I have the health bar disabled because it just bothers me. I've done the tracking of the numbers that I put up my entire time playing the game, so I find it more distracting than anything. But those are all obviously personal preference. I have both on damage numbers. I have always sprint on, taking damage closest death box, or crafting menu off so that you can get shield swaps. I have the rest of the stuff doesn't really matter. My custom settings for my reticle are this. You can copy those numbers down because you can actually just click on it and input those numbers. I'm running this light blue for my reticle and for my laser sight. That's just what I like. I run this colorblind mode. I do this for a couple different reasons. Mostly just the colors. Like if you'll notice on the bottom left, my stuff's not red. It's more of like a tan kind of thing. And if I'm using thermals or something, or I'm in zone, it just changes the way the game looks. So I'm personally using this one, the Protonopia. That's personal preference. That's entirely up to you. Go into actual controller settings and my button layout. So I have a custom button layout because my RB button doesn't work. And at one point before that, on my previous controller, my LB button didn't work. And so I've switched these around a bit. And this is just what feels comfortable and what I'm used to now. So this is just what I ended up with. My A, B, X, and Y are on back paddles because I have the Elite Series 2 core. And so I never touch any of those buttons, but that's my crouch is on my bottom left, my interact, pick up, reload on my top left, my cycle weapon holster top right, and my jump is on my bottom right. I toggle my zoom with LB. I have down as my ping, which means whenever I'm using my tactical, or my ultimate, I have to press in on the left stick because that's my tac button, and down on my D-pad. It's just what I'm used to, but I use left stick for my tactical, which also really helps with Wattson because I can just
Playing with fences.
I never have to take my finger off of anything. I'm pretty set in using it this way because it's just what I'm used to. But yep, that's my button layout in case anybody was wondering. I have tap and use to reload. My crouch is on hold. My aim is on hold. I have my survival slide off. I have my survival slot off. No trigger dead zones. So this is my menu cursor speed. This is just what feels comfortable for me. It's what is useful for me. I'm currently just running 4-3 linear. I suggest this for any new player, and so I run this since myself. Plenty of big content creators, pros, what have you. They all play this or some variation of this. I keep my look dead zone as small because that's what's comfortable for me. I used to play on none for a long time. I don't really notice that big of a difference, to be entirely honest. Like, some people will live and breathe and die to say that you have to play on no look dead zone, but it's genuinely not that necessary, in my personal opinion. I don't use ALCs currently, but these are the ALC settings that I was using for a while. I had 3% dead zone, 3% outer threshold, 5 response curve. These are my per optics that I would run. They feel good for me personally. My yaw and pitch are at 380. My ADS yaw and pitch are 120. Everything else on 0. Target compensation, melee compensation, default, so I can utilize all the benefits of console gaming, basically, because for a majority of my gameplay, I play on my Xbox Series X, because for one, my PC is pretty bad, so it doesn't run games very well, but also just in general, this is where all my friends are and stuff, so I play this, but I do play on PC every once in a while, and maybe one day I'll make specifically a PC thing, a PC guide or settings video or something. Yeah, that's... Oh, and by the way, this is what the ALCs look like. It's basically pretty much similar to that, like to the base settings of 4-3 linear. These are the two main settings I suggest. If you want to use ALCs, then that's on you, you know, and you can always tweak this to suit your personal playstyle more. Like if you're more flashy, more high movement, you have better control of your sticks, then feel free to ramp those numbers up a little bit. Same with on the basic sensitivity, if you want to move this up to a 5 or something because you're a movement demon or something. I just think that personally 4-3 linear small death zone is what's working for me. So that's pretty much it. I have my FOV all the way up. FOV ability scaling disabled. Sprint view shake minimal. I'm running performance mode so that I can run at, as you can see in the top right corner, I'm at 120 frames on console. And for my audio settings, I'm deaf because I served 6 years in the army. So I have some hearing loss from that. I don't have any of my musics up. I have plenty of, I basically just have sound, dialogue, and master all the way up so that I can try to hear this game as much as I possibly can. I use the dialogue up. Some people suggest that you put dialogue down. I put it up or keep it up because your teammates and your character will say if somebody's dropping with you or if they're taking fire or anything, and that's just more information for you, especially if you're playing with teammates that are either randoms or your teammates aren't the most talkative bunch. Having that dialogue volume is useful. And so that's my settings. This is my Wattson guide. I appreciate you guys stopping in on the stream. I appreciate anybody watching the video. Thank you all very much. And let me know if you want me to make any other legend specific guides. And this is the best time to tell you that, like, this is what I do, is I coach people on Apex every day. I have for basically the last 2 years. So we can continue just learning stuff about this game. I saw plenty of positive feedback on the controller movement guide. And we can keep this up as long as you want. I'm always open for suggestions on my videos. And that's it for me. Life. Learn to inspire freedom of everything. You must learn to inspire to have the freedom of everything. I love you guys, my life populace. Thank you for stopping in. I really appreciate you. Have a good one. I'll see you next time.